They're going to do everything they can not to have a crisis before the election. That's guaranteed. But whether or not they can do it is a guessing game. Even when you're looking at the official numbers coming from the feds, you're looking at about 22 banks that are facing problems. Other data is showing up to almost 300. Again, barely being reported, and you're having one default after another, hardly being reported. And now let's go back when they dumped all this money into when Trump and Biden dumped all this dough into the system to artificially prop up the economy when the COVID war, when they locked down everything. Your interest rates are at zero. So now the banks own all these worthless treasuries. So they don't have the money to cover the defaults on the loan. Look, you look at the data. Well, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. An article just came out, just recently about the housing issues.
Yes.
You got the price of homes went up since the COVID war began, 47%. Then you look at the numbers here, and this is according to Redfin, or Atom, ATTOM, examined 572 U.S. counties and determined that median price homes in about 80% of those areas are out of reach for the average income earner. Major home expenses on typical homes sold during the second quarter required an annual income of $90,598. So $91,000, and you're looking at the average income of $71,000. Again, and then you look at inflation. When I was a young guy, man, I mean, one of my first real jobs, I was making $31,000, and that was good money.
Yeah.
And I said, no, the whole thing has gone down. And again, you want to look at the presidential reality show? How about all the inflation that these two clown boys created? With Trump, the deficit went up like $4 trillion under him, like $3 or $4 trillion under Biden, dumping all this free money in to fight the COVID war. Stay in your house, close down your business, here's cheap money. Bring those interest rates down to zero. Can't understand why we got inflation. America's gone the way of the country that we fought against back in the Revolution. Sun never sets on the British Empire. We fight wars all over the world. Oh, yeah, then you had World War I, and the pound went dead because you kept fighting these wars. The same things happened to America. The trillions and trillions of dollars going to fight wars as the country's rotting in front of our eyes. I mean, you live in New York City. I went down to the city 2 weeks ago. I used to live down in West Village. The West Village is one of the hottest spots around. Now I see guys like this, all drugged out, watching guys shoot up. Everywhere where they're doing construction and they have their scaffolding over there, all underneath it, all homeless people.
Oh, yeah.
Roads are rotted in front of us. How about the train system in America? Isn't it great? The New York subways are not in Calcutta. Amtrak is crap track when you go around the world and you see the high-speed rail. The country is rotting in front of everybody's eyes, and if you're too deaf to see it, all you had to do was turn on the presidential reality show and see the clown show that we had called The Debate. These are the people running the country. They're out of control morons and imbeciles that have destroyed what used to be the land of opportunity. Oh, how about the Vanguards and the Black Rocks and the State Streets that own what? Together, the largest shareholders of 40% of all U.S. companies and 88% of the S&P 500. That's according to a study done that was reported in Business Insider. Once upon a time, this used to be the land of opportunity. Oh, you want to talk about the equity markets? The gang is running it in front of everybody's eyes. What land of opportunity?
First, let's take a hard look at the data. 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. A recent article highlighted the severe housing crisis we're facing. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, home prices have surged by 47%. According to a study by Atom Data Solutions, median-priced homes in about 80% of U.S. counties are out of reach for the average income earner. Major home expenses on typical homes sold during the second quarter required an annual income of $91,598, yet the average income is only around $71,000. This gap is growing, making it increasingly difficult for ordinary Americans to secure affordable housing. Inflation is eroding the purchasing power of your savings. When I started out, earning $31,000 was considered decent money. Today, the value of that income has diminished significantly due to inflation. Economic policies from recent administrations have only exacerbated this issue. The national deficit skyrocketed under both Trump and Biden, driven by efforts to combat the economic fallout from COVID-19 through massive stimulus packages and artificially low interest rates. This has led to an inevitable spike in inflation, mirroring the historical decline of the British pound due to continuous wartime expenditures. The financial strain isn't limited to personal savings. America's infrastructure is crumbling. I recently visited New York City, and the decay was evident. Once vibrant neighborhoods like the West Village are now filled with homeless individuals and drug users. The transportation system, particularly the New York subways and Amtrak, is in dire need of modernization. Compared to high-speed rail systems around the world, America's infrastructure is lagging, further illustrating the nation's decline. The housing market provides a clear example of the economic disparity. While home prices have skyrocketed, wages have not kept pace. This disconnect is pushing home ownership out of reach for many Americans. The Federal Reserve's policies of low interest rates and quantitative easing have inflated asset prices, benefiting those who already own assets while making it harder for new buyers to enter the market. The concentration of financial power in institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street is another concern. These entities are the largest shareholders in 40% of all U.S. companies and 88% of the S&P 500. This concentration of power undermines the idea of a free market and limits opportunities for smaller investors. Despite attempts to stabilize the economy, a financial crisis looms. The artificial propping up of the economy during the COVID-19 pandemic has left banks holding worthless treasuries, unable to cover defaults on loans. This scenario is setting the stage for a significant economic downturn. Official numbers indicate that about 22 banks are facing problems, but other data suggests this number could be as high as 300. The situation is dire, and it's not being adequately reported. This brings us to the importance of gold and silver. These metals have been reliable stores of value for centuries. As the economy faces instability, the demand for gold and silver is rising. In 2024, we've already seen gold prices increase by over $300 an ounce, with projections suggesting it could reach $3,000 an ounce. This surge is a clear indicator of gold's value as a hedge against economic uncertainty. Global conflicts further underscore the need for financial security. Ongoing tensions in Ukraine, Russia, Iran, and Israel are driving up oil prices, which could reach $130 a barrel if conflicts escalate. This would have a devastating impact on global economies and equity markets. The banking crisis, coupled with rising energy costs, could lead to a severe economic downturn. Unfortunately, mainstream media often distracts from these critical issues. Headlines focus on trivial matters, such as lavish weddings of the rich, rather than addressing the impending economic crisis. This misdirection prevents the public from understanding the severity of the situation and preparing accordingly.
They're going to do everything they can not to have a crisis before the election. That's guaranteed. But whether or not they can do it is a guessing game. Even when you're looking at the official numbers coming from the feds, you're looking at about 22 banks that are facing problems. Other data is showing up to almost 300. Again, barely being reported, and you're having one default after another, hardly being reported. And now let's go back when they dumped all this money into the when Trump and Biden dumped all this dough into the system to artificially prop up the economy when the COVID war, when they locked down everything. Your interest rates are at zero. So now the banks own all these worthless treasuries. So they don't have the money to cover the defaults on the loan. There's going to be a crisis, and we're saying, again, you know, one of our top trends for 2024 was a golden year for gold. As we're speaking, gold is, $2,360 an ounce. It's up over $300 an ounce since we made that forecast. Gold could very well hit $3,000 an ounce. Before I came on with you, I wanted to see what one of the headline stories was on CNN. The son of Asia's richest man is getting married in one of India's most lavish weddings of the year. What the hell are you telling me this crap from? What's going on in Ukraine? What's going on in Russia? What's going on in Lebanon? What's going on in Iran? What's going on in Israel? The Taylor Swift, what? This is the crap they're putting out. What the hell do I care? Some clown getting married in India. Why, he's rich, and you should know that. People don't have a clue. So going on, World War III's already begun. We forecast World War III. You go back to our Trends Journal magazine 2 days before the Russian invasion. From COVID war to Ukraine war to World War. And now what's going on with the Israel war? Ramping it up against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And what did Iran say? You attack Lebanon and you go after Hezbollah full force, we're going to wipe you out. Love it, hate it, agree, disagree with anybody you want. That's not what we do. We just put down the facts and give you the implication. There is going to be oil prices. You're already looking now at Brent crude. It's almost $86 a barrel. Oh, it just moved up about another $5 a barrel. They go to war with Iran. You're going to see oil prices go to Belva. And they're going to keep launching more and more attacks against Russia because the United States and NATO gave them more weapons to go deeper into that. They're going to be attacking oil fields, refineries, pipelines, etc. You're going to see oil prices could go up to $130 a barrel. And that's going to crash global economies in the equity market. And again, the banking crisis is going to crash global equity markets in the economy. Again, and these are realities. These are in front of everybody's eyes to see. But again, we got to know, who's having sex with who and what are the rich people doing.
As we move deeper into 2024, the need for financial stability becomes even more apparent. Gold and silver aren't just relics of the past. They are the bedrock of a stable financial portfolio in today's volatile market. Let's take a closer look at why these precious metals are crucial in our current economic climate. First, let's address the inflationary pressures that are squeezing the average American. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, has been climbing steadily, eroding the purchasing power of the dollar. Everyday essentials, from groceries to gasoline, are becoming more expensive. This isn't just a temporary spike, it's a sustained trend. The Federal Reserve's attempts to manage inflation through interest rate hikes have been met with limited success, further emphasizing the need for assets that hold their value over time. Gold and silver have historically been safe havens during times of economic uncertainty. Unlike fiat currencies, which can be printed at will, the supply of gold and silver is finite. This intrinsic scarcity makes them immune to the devaluation that plagues paper money. As central banks around the world continue their monetary easing policies, the value of gold and silver remains robust. Moreover, geopolitical tensions are adding fuel to the fire. The conflict in Ukraine is a prime example. Sanctions against Russia have disrupted global supply chains, particularly in energy markets. Europe is facing an energy crisis, with natural gas prices reaching unprecedented levels. This turmoil has a ripple effect on global markets, driving up the cost of goods and services worldwide. In the Middle East, the situation is equally precarious. The potential for a broader conflict involving Israel, Hezbollah, and Iran looms large. If Iran follows through on its threats, we could see significant disruptions in oil supplies. Such a scenario would not only push oil prices to new highs, but also trigger a global economic slowdown. During such crises, investors flock to safe haven assets like gold and silver, driving their prices even higher. Let's not forget the looming banking crisis. The artificial propping up of the economy during the COVID pandemic has left banks holding massive amounts of low-yield treasuries. As interest rates rise, the value of these treasuries falls, putting banks in a precarious position. Defaults are already starting to surface, and the situation could worsen. In this environment, gold and silver offer a safe harbor from the storm. Beyond their role as hedges against inflation and economic instability, gold and silver have practical uses that bolster their value. Gold is a critical component in electronics, aerospace, and even medical devices. Silver, with its superior electrical conductivity, is indispensable in solar panels, electric vehicles, and 5G technology. These industrial applications ensure a steady demand for these metals, further supporting their value. For those skeptical about the future of precious metals, consider this. Central banks around the world are increasing their gold reserves. Countries like China, Russia, and India are buying gold at an unprecedented rate. This trend signals a lack of confidence in the US dollar and other fiat currencies. When central banks diversify their reserves with gold, it underscores the metal's enduring value. In conclusion, the economic landscape of 2024 is fraught with challenges. Inflation is eroding the value of our savings. Geopolitical tensions are disrupting global markets, and the banking sector is on shaky ground. In such times, gold and silver shine as pillars of stability. They offer not just a hedge against inflation and economic turmoil, but also a tangible asset that holds intrinsic value. As Gerald Celente often emphasizes, gold and silver are the ultimate safe havens. They are not just investments, they are insurance policies against the systemic risks that threaten our financial well-being. Whether you are a seasoned investor or someone just beginning to build your portfolio, incorporating gold and silver can provide the security and peace of mind that is so desperately needed in today's uncertain world. So, as we navigate through these turbulent times, remember the timeless wisdom of investing in gold and silver. They have preserved wealth through wars, depressions, and financial crises, and they will continue to do so, offering a beacon of hope and stability in an ever-changing economic landscape.
Stay informed about the latest developments shaping the precious metals market with regular updates from the Finance Daily team. Not only that, but as a subscriber, you'll also receive timely silver and gold price notifications and early access to groundbreaking news unavailable to the general public. Join our free gold and silver newsletter today. Link in the description.